In this video, I am going to review a video that was just published on the new generation of Brompton electric bikes. This video was put out by Brilliant Bikes. And if you want to see the original, I'm putting a link below. You will also find the link to my shopping page or landing page. All the information is accessible from that page, just in case you are curious about some of the merchandise that's being discussed. So this is obviously a store. This is not a place that Brompton would allow to even offer a preview if they were critical of the product. I have no such restrictions. I am going to be as critical as I always have been. And I think my arguments are going to be well reasoned. The first thing I notice about this guy who's speaking for Brompton is that he really could have spent a little bit more money on his attire because he does not look very professional. But in any case, he is a rep from Brompton. I'm not sure if he's an engineer or what, but he's the one that's going to introduce these new bikes and answer some questions. Going deeper into the video, he's claiming that the new line is an evolution, which I guess it is. I would prefer to call it a catching up attempt, trying to catch up with the competition, with the new line of Brompton still being at least a decade or two behind. Yes, it's an evolution from where they started, but a very slow one. Now here is a big lie right from the beginning. They are moving the motors to the back, and he is claiming that they are doing this because it's going to give you that sporty feel like you get in a sports car. Unfortunately, that's never going to happen with 250 watts and you sitting on a saddle. If you sit in a genuine sports car with a sports seat that has sideways support and the back is fully supported in an ergonomic way, then yes, with that enormous amount of power, it's an exhilarating feeling. This is one of the biggest points about driving a sports car, that you lean into curves and you feel the sideways pressure and so on. The only way to reproduce this on a bicycle is to get a high quality recumbent bike which has the same kind of back support, and then put a big motor, not a 250 but something like a 750 or a 1000 in the back, and yes, then you are going to get that same feeling. This is the Toxis ZR, by the way, just in case you are curious. It is a front wheel driven bike that is just asking to have a hub motor of significant power installed in the back. And I would love to have a bike like this. Not this year though. But other than that, sitting on top of it, the tiny seat of a 250 watt e-bike is not going to give you any kind of a fancy feeling, even if it's rear driven. And they are going to get to the point later on. The real reason they are moving the motors to the back is because they are gradually replacing the steel fork, the fork that you see here, with much weaker and more fragile carbon fiber and aluminum forks. And those forks would not be able to stand even 250 watt. They would be bent out of shape or even crack in the case of the carbon fiber fork. So now he's lying. He's saying that it is a better feeling. First of all, I should also add that having a front mounted motor made the first generation of electric Bromptons an all-wheel drive electric bicycle, which is far more secure and far better. It's a better weight distribution. You sit toward the back, the heavy weight of the battery and the motor is in the front, and you have all-wheel drive, so if you hit a sandy or muddy spot and one of the wheels is losing control, the other wheel is still going to save the day and may still pull you through. So all of this garbage that this guy is presenting, that it's a better feel and that's why they are moving the motors to the back, is all incorrect. It's just smoke and mirrors to make the motors somewhat smaller. So he's proudly claiming that they have made it a little bit smaller. Well, how about what Green has done? This is an 8-pound motor that sold as a 500 watt, and I've overclocked it to 750 with no problem. And this has been sandwiched into the, in my opinion, unnecessarily narrow geometry of the Brompton. So once again, this motor has been on the market for over a decade. Brompton is trying to play catch up, but with a 250 watt motor, which is half the power of what you're getting if you are using a green kit instead of buying a Brompton electric. So let's go a little further without sacrificing performance. What performance? 250 watts? And once again, they are arguing about how the rear mounted motor is a better feel. No, it's not a better feel. They just can't mount it on a fork like this. You cannot put even 250 watts on to a fragile carbon fork like this, which of course says a lot about the sturdiness of these new components, especially the new forks. By the way, there are new stems which are also made of aluminum. They seem to be trying to cut down on the weight somewhat, but this is going to come at the expense of safety and durability. They have replaced the front carrier somewhat. I'm not sure if this is to say that there's going to be a new line of bags, that the old bags are not going to fit the new carrier. I don't know. All I can say is, and I have said this before in other videos, that if you carry something as heavy as a battery in the front, you will have to open up that front carrier block, I would say once a year or so, and make sure that the screws are tight, because the vibration of the heavy weight in the bag can loosen the screws, as was the case with me. And I had to spend hours and several afternoons gradually grinding those old screws out and replacing them with new ones. Luckily, I was able to get them out. Now, here is something that a lot of people have requested, and this is good. They basically are adding a tiny computer unit onto the handlebar. With the first generation of Bromptons, it's been an enormous problem that what little control you had over the bike, and you really did not have much. All you could see was some dots showing how much battery life you had, and you could switch, I believe, between three speeds, like a very low, a medium, and the full 250 watts. All of that has been moved up here, which is a good thing, but once again, it's over a decade behind the competition. Even if you look at a cheap $700 bike on Amazon, even that bike has a full color display system attached. So this is nothing new. It is something that is expected from everyone. Even Green now has the super harness with a choice of several computer configurations. And by the way, this cheap bike also gives you 1500 watts and a speed limit of 28 miles per hour instead of the 15, which Brompton is unlikely to ever change. So yeah, this is a good thing to have, but this should have been done right in the beginning. And I don't understand why they keep the old interface on the back. If all of the controls are moving up to the handlebar, then why even bother having an interface on the back? And he says, it fits the Brompton experience. Boy, this guy can really lie. What do you mean it fits? Well, the old experience was that if you wanted to change the speed limits, you would have to either stop the bike and get off, or lean over the bar and reach down to the bag, which is really not safe, and try to change it that way. So now the Brompton experience is that you're not going to break your neck, which used to be the standard experience for most people. You're not going to have to break your back to change something in the middle of the ride. And you have some decent readout, just like all the competition. You can see the speed, how much battery life you have. All these amazing features. Oh yeah, they also have a throttle, a thumb throttle, which Green has been offering for decades. This is what it looks like. And by the way, Green offers you a whole bunch of different choices. You can have a motorcycle-like twist throttle, which connects to their computer. You can have left-handed, right-handed, incredible flexibility and power that you are getting. So having this thumb throttle, what it does is, if you just rely on a cadence sensor, some kind of a sensor that senses that you are trying to pedal, the electric support is not going to kick in right away. And when you start at a red light or a stop sign, or if it's an uphill, it's really helpful to have a throttle in. So that's what they are doing. They have incorporated the throttle into this new gadget that goes onto the handlebar. I myself installed this in 2017 when I built my Brompton Interceptor. However, even though it's handy a little bit here and there, I uninstalled it because it creates a moped-like experience, and I want to feel like I'm riding a bike. I want to accelerate like it's a bicycle. I want to go through the gears and all of that fun stuff that those of us who have been riding for years are used to. So it's up to you if you like this feature or not. I think it's a good thing to have. It proves safety. This is one of the few things I approve of, but this is at least 2 decades behind the green kit. So yeah, you push it and then it goes. Immediate effort. Wow, this is mind-blowing. It is unbelievable. What Brompton is doing is just unbelievable. They are upsetting the whole industry. If there is an uphill or a stop sign or something, you can just get electric support without having to pedal or wait for the system to turn it on. Very cool. She cannot wait to test this demo because this is such an incredible system. This is a revolution unfolding in front of our eyes. And here is a really important and good question that she's asking, which I have been asking since the beginning. Why don't they just create a kit that we could buy and swap onto our existing bikes? We could pay an extra 1200 or whatever and keep our bike. And he's going to give the usual lying answer. It's not in our plan because we really focus on the quality of the bikes. No, you are focusing on taking as much money from the customer as possible. They could just market this as a kit. After all, that's all it is. And sell it for an extra $1,000, $1,200. We could pop it onto an existing bike. But selling a new bike means that they can collect an extra $4,000 or $5,000 even for a steel frame. Not to mention the price of a titanium electric, which is also available. They need to test this out. You are getting a better result if they install the kit because they test it. Wow, that means I get my new electric pre-tested. This is amazing. Because they moved the motor in the rear, they have also moved the controller to the back. And the wiring is now run inside the frame, at least in some cases. As you can see, not in all cases, but in some cases, they are running it inside. This is totally unnecessary complication. If you need to replace the controller, you're probably going to have to take it to a Brompton dealer or a Brompton junction because it's not going to be easy. The wire goes inside the frame. Unlike the external wires, which are just so easy to work on, this is just added complexity because of their insistence of using these ugly new forks that are unattractive and fragile. I would understand it maybe on the T-line because it has to be lightweight, but you're going to see they are putting these onto the steel frames as well. Yes, the G-line already has the motor moved to the rear because of the weakness of the aluminum fork, which is inferior to the old forks that they used to have. They have an electric titanium version. Now, I don't understand why somebody would want to put a heavy electric kit on top of an ultralight bicycle. That just makes sense. But if you guys know why you would want a bike like that, let me know in the comment section below. So yeah, you have the very light titanium bike, and they're gonna put that heavy kit on it. And I might add, if you use any of the kits, the green kit I recommend, the switch kit, which is really very easy, you can very easily remove the whole kit, remove the wheel and put back the original front wheel, and you have the original bike as light as it was designed. You cannot do that with these rear driven systems because removing the rear wheel is really not going to be all that easy. It has all kinds of cable connected. It has cable to the motor, a cable to the gears. This is hopeless. And here you see the steel frame. They are bragging about some water bottle mount and apparently an aluminum steering column. Not very earth-shaking. There is the new front carrier, which I'm still not sure if it's going to take the old bags. Maybe they are going to make everybody buy new bags as well. Why not? If there are enough fools to buy into the system, you can see from the rear motor here that it's really difficult to get to. This is not something you can just swap out easily if you want to remove the electric thing and travel. And this is the best. Look at what they are doing. They are attaching this ugly fork, which was ugly enough on the titanium frame, onto this glossy, elegant 20th century frame. And they are putting on a new steering column, this aluminum steering column as well, which totally do not fit the rest of the bike. Neither the frame nor this seat post go with these kind of flat painted or flat surface modernist attachments. The fork I criticized even on the titanium. It does not look the best, but it looks absolutely horrendous on this one. And they are probably going to attach this kind of fork onto everything. On the cheaper steel frame bikes, they are probably going to use the aluminum fork, which is also ugly and fragile. So basically the whole lineup is going downhill. They have ergonomic grips, that's good. I think that's been available for a while. That's not really anything new. The handlebars have changed somewhat, and this whole headset has changed. I don't see the benefit of it. I mean, the benefit of it is that they can attach what was originally designed for the titanium frame to a classic frame, which looks horrible, but it can be attached. We have come to love the titanium frame. Well, not me. I haven't not come to love it. I still recommend the ProDrive over it. The only time I understand that you would be getting the Brompton is if that original compact Brompton fold and the ability to convert into a shopping bag is very important to you. Other than that, I think the ProDrive is just a better choice, but a much nicer bike. And now she is test riding the old bike. I must say the old bike looked better. It had far better weight distribution because anybody who sits on a Brompton is going to sit mostly on the rear wheel. So all of the weight of the electric kit was shifted to the front, and that created a good balance. It gave you an easy way to just swap out this wheel, remove the bag, and put in a non-electric wheel if you want it to be light, if you want it to travel or something like that. And the rear wheel was easily accessible. With this fancy electric motor moved to the rear, it's going to be very hard to even fix a flat. You have the controller connecting to it, you have the gears, you have all these wires. So people who are sensible would electrify a bike if it's going to be a hub motor in the front, not in the rear, unless the bike is already front wheel driven like the Toxa ZR. So in my opinion, this is just further evidence that Brompton is losing its mind and the whole lineup is going downhill. Everything is getting more expensive and yet at the same time less satisfying. I'm sure the new electric lineup is still going to be speed limited to 15 an hour, which might be okay for you in Europe, but in the US we can do 20, we can even do 30. That's just a class 3 classification, but it is legally sold and ridden everywhere. In fact, we have bikes that go a lot faster than even 30 miles an hour. Okay, this is it for the current video. Make sure to check my links below. You can watch the video for yourself, and I am curious as to your comments.
I'll be back.